Okay. If there is anyone here on this wonderful Friday evening, can you let me know if you can hear me? Hi. Excellent. So you guys can hear me? Fantastic. I'm just going to put some lip balm on. We don't want to be out here with our lips looking completely busted, right? Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say a massive right? Hell no. We don't want to be out here looking in that kind of way, right? So first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you so much to all of you that are here right now. If you're spending a part of your Friday with me, it really does mean a lot. I just want to say a massive thank you so much to all of you wonderful people who commented and liked and checked in on me while I was away on my holiday and stuff. It was really nice to see so much love from you guys, and I'm truly very grateful for it. So thank you for everything. For those of you that don't know, just going to chuck this in. It's the first and last time I will mention it, maybe, but for those of you that have ever wanted to learn tarot with yours truly, you can do that at the moment. The cart will close on the 31st of July. There are still spaces left, but I'm only taking 20 students because I want to make sure that I can give you all as much time, effort and energy as you need to get you through the course and out there reading and slinging cards like the best of them. So with that said, obviously, we are here to talk about the Aquarius full moon that is coming up in literally just 4 days from now, which is it's a big deal, right? So it's a big deal for me anyway, because I am an Aquarius. I know I've got at least one here. But can I get a little heads up, a hello or a thumbs up or a shout out from any fellow Aquarians that may be here? Let me know. Yeah, absolutely. So my business address is on my website. So if you ever want to send me anything, please send it to the business address and it will absolutely make its way to me. Oh, that's really exciting. I'm getting an honorary deck from somebody, which is so awesome. So thank you. All right, so Aqua Rising from Cami Parish, love it. Celestial Earth Goddess, I'm an Aquarius Rising, love. I got love for my Aries too. As many of you know, my mama is an Aries. Rose Jefferson is an Aquarius. I love it. It wouldn't be a Reydiant session, right, without my trusty, very classy Sports Direct mug. Two of my children are Aquarians, very different though. Yeah, you tend to find that if you have, every sign has a duality to it, right? Absolutely all 12 of the signs have a duality to them. With the Aquarius trope though, what you tend to get is the Saturnian side of them. They're a lot more cerebral. They tend to be a bit more stoic, a bit more sort of reserved, a bit more sort of held back. And then you get the complete opposite, which is the Uranian Aquarians, who are out there wild and just completely, I'll give you 3 guesses as to which one I am. Cool. Eleni is an Aquarius. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. All right. So the boy is Libra rising and the eldest is Libra rising. Yeah. So, obviously that will temper things a lot. And obviously the moon sign, because our moon it's how we... Your moon sign is a lot more subjective. It's a lot more who you are on the inside. Like your moon and how you express that, you will only ever really see, like, your parents will see that, your significant other will see that, and your children will see that, because the moon aspect of our sort of astrological DNA, if you like, tends to be a lot more hidden, right? It's the part of us that not many people really get to. They don't get it's not like a public display, right? Your ascendant is out there slutting it about, like, hey, this is me, especially if you're me, right? Whereas your and your sun sign is very visible in terms of where you go and how you present, but your moon tends to be a lot more it's not even just subjective, and it's not subdued, it just tends to be a lot more private. Aquarianess, what's up? What's up? What's up? I love it. I think I'm the more reserved Aquarius, Sun in Aquarius, Taurus ascendant. Yeah, because Taurus is a lot more traditional, right? Taurus doesn't like drama. It doesn't like any of those things. I know I dated a Taurus once, and you know, me and my highly theatrical self was not appreciated. Luckily, I've mellowed down a bit. All right, so without further ado, I have waffled at you enough and updated you on stuff. Did I? So did I. He was not for me. Yeah, well, there you go, right? It's that Taurus, man. Anyone Libra or Taurus, anyone Venusian ruled, they don't do the drama. All right, like we call it the drama, right? The drama. They don't like it. So, you know, Venus tends to shy away from that. Whereas at the moment, Venus is in Leo, even though she's retrograde at the minute, and she is doing her thing, right? Is anybody else loving the Venus transit? I personally am. All right. So, as I said, once more, I digress. So we'll stop waffling at you and we will get into the reason that you are here, which is for us to delve into the full moon in Aquarius. All right. So this, remember, whenever I'm talking about astrology, myself, I'm always using the tropical Western zodiac. I always use whole signs for the house system that I use. From time to time, I will dip into others, especially if I'm looking at something important for somebody else. But as you know, for these general readings, I find whole sign is usually very accurate and I get pretty good results from it. And my clients have enjoyed the stuff that I do for them as well. All right. So this Aquarius full moon, I'm looking at this from the UK perspective in terms of the time. So you'll have to adjust this for yourself. On the 1st of August at 7:58 p.m. UK time, 9 degrees of Aquarius. Now, if you know anything about numerology, 9 is a number of completion. It's a number of endings, completions, culminations. And it doesn't have to be like that something comes to an end. But 9 it's a culmination point, right? It's where something comes to its peak. Now, when you think about the full moon itself, I always liken the lunar's cycle to me. I always liken it to a pregnancy. So you've got the new moon, which is inception, the sun and the moon, you know, mum and dad come together, they do the deed, right, in any sign. And that's where that sort of inception happens. As the moon grows in light and strength and she reaches that full moon point, that's where, you know, the pregnancy is ripe and literally a woman sort of bursting with life and energy and power and ready to give birth, right? And it's the same thing for the full moon. And so I always say to people, while the full moon is an ending, a completion, a culmination, it's like a pregnancy, right? So it's the end of the pregnancy, but it's the beginning of the life of the child and it's the beginning of motherhood. So the full moon is kind of the same. Yes, they can absolutely bring endings, especially the eclipses. So over this, you know, the Taurus Scorpio axis, not long to go. All right. But that's kind of how I conceptualize the full moon and the lunar cycle, right? To help people understand how I see it, and just to give you kind of like a frame of reference. Now, this full moon in particular is doing some interesting things. It's going to be forming a T-square, which is what we know as any time that you see a square in astrology, you're talking about a connection or an aspect of tension. It creates some friction, right? And the way that I typify squares is they piss you off enough to kind of say, okay, I'm not having this experience again, so I'm going to do something about it. A T-square is somewhat more special, right? Because you've got the sun and the moon, which are opposing each other. That's how we get a full moon. The sun and the moon are on opposite sides of the sky. But the reason we call it a T-square is because in between those two celestial luminaries, as they are called, because the sun and the moon aren't really planets, right? They're luminaries. In the anchor of that, we've got Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. So this is setting up what we call a fixed T-square, right? So we've got the sun in Leo, we've got the moon in Aquarius, we've got Jupiter in Taurus, and it's a tight one as well, right? So the sun and the moon are obviously both at 9 degrees at this time, but Jupiter is only at 13 degrees. So it's a really tight orb. You know, we could consider that a good tight orb for this specific aspect. On top of that, Saturn, the ruler of this full moon, because Saturn is the original ruler of Aquarius, is opposing Mercury. So Saturn's in Pisces, Mercury's in Virgo. That is the way that I feel that shows up for all of us in some way, shape, or form. It's going to force us to speak up, whether we want to or not, right? And there's a reason for this. An opposition in its energy exudes the same energy as Saturn. Saturn is an impasse. There's no getting around it. It's a reality check, right? So Saturn, limitations, etc. Mercury, communication. It's like the way out or the way past the challenge is by speaking up. And if you refuse to speak up, the chances are you're not A, going to get what it is that you're hoping for, and B, you might even be silenced in some way, right? So you've got to find your courage and your guts here to speak up in some way. The sun's in Leo at the moment, which is its home, so it's helping us all do that in some regard, wherever this is. Venus retrograde is trine to the North Node in Aries at this time. So Venus is retrograde in the sign of Leo. She's finally doing that backward dance that we all spent, weeks and weeks talking about, but it's actually happening now. And then on top of that, Venus is going to be, so Venus trine the North Node means that whatever is coming back to us through that Venus retrograde is connecting to the North Node, which means that whatever comes back or is redefined, redecided, renegotiated, etc., it actually has a chance to initiate something for our future. And the full moon is putting a spotlight on the world at this moment in time to help us understand what that thing coming in is and how it is that it's going to be a part of our future. The Venus square Uranus, so Venus is retrograde in the sign of Leo. She's going to be squaring Uranus at this time in the sign of Taurus. That's a tight orb as well, because Venus is at like 26 of Leo and Uranus is at like 22 of Taurus. That's a tight orb as well, right? So, and that it's potentially shocking news or information that finds us when it comes to partnerships, relationships, money, finances, and resources. And then finally, Pluto's back in the sign of Capricorn. It's going to be there now until January of 2024. But the fact that it's come back into the sign of Capricorn is a really interesting thing. And the reason I say this is because it's squaring the nodes exactly at the time of this full moon, which I find really, really interesting and very profound, because it means that something is being, Saturn, when it was squaring the nodes, was about the fabric of our reality being pulled apart and put back together simultaneously, right? Whereas Pluto squaring the nodes, which are now in the sign of Aries, in the signs of Aries and Libra, North Node in Aries and South Node in Libra, this is really about something being released, let go of, phased out, or shown to be obsolete. And so it has to be released, removed. There's no transmuting it, right? Like, yes, Pluto represents transformation and all of those things, but it's truly an eliminative energy. And so what this means is in the square to the nodes, it's showing you in the square to the south node in Libra, this is what has to go. There's no negotiation on that. In the square to the north node in the sign of Aries, it's showing us this is what's coming in, and this is what the true potential of this thing happens to be. All right, so that's to give you like a little rundown of what's going on with the moon. So obviously you've got cards. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. Or should I say us on our paths to our highest vibrational good, because these messages are for all of us in some way, shape, or form. Now, for the sign of Aries, in fact, before we get into that, you want to check these for your ascendant first, because we're mostly looking at the astrology here, backed up by tarot. Then you want to look at your sun sign, and then you want to look at your moon sign. All right. So for Aries, this full moon is happening for you in your 11th house. The focus here is on group associations, friendships, connections through social media, maybe even highlighting how you connect to the wider world in some regard. And remember, the 11th house is also the space of benefactors. So this actually could be a full moon that highlights to you somebody that can really help you in some way, shape, or form when it comes to your personal aspirations for the future. So the full moon setting up that T-square with the sun and Jupiter. So Jupiter in the second house, right? So lucky Aries, right? Especially if you're an Aries ascendant, the moon is showing you that friendships and money matters might not necessarily gel, right? So the T-square here is the sun in the fifth house is kind of showing you that your desires right now are very focused towards freedom, liberation, fun, maybe even looking after your, doing something really active that helps you get fired up about life. In the opposition to the moon, which is in the 11th house, right? It's showing you that you're in some way, shape, or form, the moon in the 11th is really highlighting to you what you actually need, right? And what you need is stronger friendship circles. What you need is deeper connections when it comes to friends, or people that actually get you, or people that really support you in some way because they are your chosen family, right? Because that's what our friends are ultimately. Now, Jupiter is a cohesive or synthesizing energy in a lot of ways because it brings together the inner and the outer. And so Jupiter's in the second house. So this could be showing you, because it is a square after all, where maybe some goal or aspiration that you have for the future is going to require you to really use your creative power and energy. And that Jupiter in the second is saying, yes, you can absolutely do this, but it's going to cost you. And it could be that a friendship group or or association, maybe you're starting to look at them and say, wow, you know what, these people are not going to help me reach my goal of being a ... But actually these people, this group connection or this benefactor is really going to push me to achieve something. Saturn, the ruler of the full moon, right? So you're lucky because Saturn exalts in the 12th house. So he's doing good work here in opposition to the nature of, and is the nature of Saturn, as I mentioned earlier. Mercury in your 6th house. Mercury's in the sign of Virgo, which it rules, so it's exalted there. So even though this is an opposition, I actually think it could be kinder to you guys in a lot of ways, providing you accept responsibility around your spiritual path, your personal past, or even the maintenance of your mental health. And, it might even be calling into conversation, like coming from a conversation with a colleague. And it might even be that the fast-paced nature of your work, you might feel a sense of like, wow, things are really shifting in this space. And I'm not, sorry, say it, don't spray it. We want the news, not the weather, Raf. Well, the astral weather. Do you know what I mean? So, and this could also happen because it's Mercury and it's Saturn. Once you open up about what you actually want, there is a way for you to move forward. The Venus retrograde trine the North Node. This is 5th house, 1st house stuff. Venus is a power player around this full moon because she's making the most aspects, right? In trying to the North Node in your sign, a sense of luck and optimism is underlying everything that you do. And to tap into this, look to Saturn, right? Which is in that opposition. It's asking you to be vocal about your needs and your desires and your true opinions on things. Venus in the retrograde to Uranus, this is second house of money, finances, and resources, and fifth house stuff. Even though it's a square, this could bring up weird conversations, maybe disruptive sexual requests, from very possible. When I was looking at it, I was like, "Ooh, okay, I see you." There is an element of this where you come to realize that your value system around romance and love needs to shift in order to invite love into your life. So if you're looking for it, this full moon could really help you sort of look at your perspective in some way. Finally, Pluto is in exact square to the node. So Pluto is going to be in your 10th house, square in the nodes. It's a background noise that means whatever is happening in relationships, and I say this out of all love, care, and courtesy, my dear Aries. I love Aries, as many of you know. I've got many of them in my family, and I have a lot of Aries friends. But this might see your own manipulative behaviors need to be released when it comes to relationships so that you can see them in a new light and move forward with it. All right. So your message from the tarot is the Nine of Swords. It's a really interesting card because the message with the card is basically to get out of your damn head, right? And although this is a full moon in the sign, in the 11th house, which is all about the future and all about what comes next and where you might be going, if we live too much in the past, we get depressed. If we live too much in the future, we get really anxious. So there's a message in this for you to kind of come into the moment and look at what and who is around you right now that can actually support or is hindering you. So that way you know how to make an informed decision about how you move forward. For Taurus, my dear bull gang, Taurus, I love you. So for you guys, this is happening in your 10th house. This is a focus on career, social status, personal appeal. It's also about where you are celebrated in some way, shape, or form. It's a full moon, right? This is a full moon on the most visible part of you. This is how you show up in the world. That full moon squaring Jupiter, setting up that T-square with the moon. The sun is in your 4th house. It's bringing you attention to your desire for home, family, as a place of living. And especially because it's in the sign of Leo, this might see you sort of wanting or needing more space or a place that feels like somewhere you can expand and spread out. Now, your needs are probably more focused on work and career because the moon is in your 10th house, right? It's really showing you what you need. And it's like, what I need right now as a Taurus is to really sort of see my career grow and expand and to see what comes next, right? It's Aquarius, the sign of the future. It's also about technology, right? So this could be that you need to get to grips with new technology in some way, shape, or form to present yourself and your work even better. So this could be a time where maybe you look at your website and stuff and you say, okay, you know what, we need to brush this ish up so that we can make it happen. Jupiter playing the anchor is in your 1st house. It's showing you that not only is it okay for you to expand, but it's going to be vital if you want to get ahead. And providing you do this in a way that is based on integrity, this could be a really nice full moon for you. It could be a moment where something in the career that you've worked really hard on or towards now comes to fruition. So Saturn as the ruler of the full moon opposing Mercury. So it's an interesting one because Mercury's in the 5th house. It's exalted there. Saturn is in the 11th house. It does good work in the sign of Pisces. It means that there's some hard conversations, though, that have to be had around friends, boundaries around friends, especially when Saturn rules your 8th and your 9th house. Your 9th and your 10th house, right? So you might realize very quickly who wants to keep you small, and you could be there kind of saying, okay, you know what? If you're trying to subdue me or to hold me back in any way, that's not an energy that I need right now if I want to grow and expand. You might realize as well, it could be a new romance for some of you that is challenged by a friend or a family member, or, you know, maybe you divulge something to a friend or a family member and they kind of say to you, well, you know, that you shouldn't stand for that. And they kind of get on your case about it. Venus retrograde trine the North Node in Aries. This is happening across your 4th and 12th house axis. It's a deep energy, right? Because the 4th house is your deep psychological, your deep emotional makeup, and your 12th house is your deep spiritual makeup. So, you know, Venus Venus is your ruler. She's in the 4th house, means she's bringing an awareness to the need to bring comfort and peace to the home. There's an expansion of home and family matters right now as well, in connection to the North Node, though. A fated idea or concept is being born for you around this, and because it's in the 12th house, your dreams, your visions, your etc. could really be showing you stuff right now, and could actually be giving you glimpses of your future around home, family, property, real estate, etc. that really show and demonstrate to you how you can actually get ahead, how you can actually move forward when it comes to those things. But you have to trust your dreams in order for that to kind of be possible, right? Venus retrograde square Uranus. This is happening because Uranus is in the 1st house for Taurus at the moment. It's still going to be there for, I think it's at least like another 3 years at this point. You're going to be encouraged to think outside the box when it comes to how you see yourself, maybe to rewrite the idea of what family means to you. There's a lot of ways, right? And a lot of ways that traditions might be shifting and changing in terms of your family. Pluto is in an exact square with the nodes in your 9th house, right? So Pluto back in that 9th house, it's the final transit here. It's destroying any final dregs of crap that are holding you back when it comes to the world, spirituality, or even education. In a square to the nodes, your daily habits, routines, and rituals on a physical, material, professional, spiritual level even are being highlighted, because it's Pluto over the course of the next few months until it goes, you know, into Aquarius full time. You're being asked to let go of what is done and outdated in order to kind of, you know, produce fertile soil once more. For this, you've got the Ace of Pentacles. So this full moon can absolutely lead you to, you know, good resources, money, finances. It could be a new home for some of you. It could also be a new job or a new career path that opens up for a lot of you as well. With the 10th house full moon, absolutely possible, all of the above. For Gemini, the 9th house, focusing on legalities, legal matters, anything of that nature could come to a head at this time, or maybe it's pushed through. So maybe you get your visa if you've been looking for one. It might see you thinking a lot about moving abroad. You know, for some of you, that could be possible. It might see you focusing on the integrity of your personal beliefs. Full moon as part of that T-square, the sun is highlighting the desire for clearer communication around matters close to like your heart, while the moon is showing you that your needs are spiritual and exotic. So there's a need for greater spiritual connection, and it might even see you needing to learn a bigger subject than you feel kind of ready for at this moment in time. Jupiter as the anchor in the 12th house is showing you that love is not a straight line. And it might be that there's a past life connection with someone who's now like in your world. It could also be that you're trying to figure someone or something out, and it's not as easy as it usually is, right? You guys are mentally so quick, so fast. You process information at lightning speed, and your ruler is currently in the sign of Virgo where it's exalted. But even still, it may not be as easy right now for you to figure someone or something out as, you know, as usually it is. Saturn, as ruler of the full moon, is opposing Mercury. This is happening across that 4th house, 10th house axis. So Saturn in the 10th is definitely bringing more responsibility to you, a need to get more serious about how you present what you do to the world in your career. It's opposing your own ruler, which is in your sibling sign where it's exalted. Mercury is asking you to communicate with your feelings instead of with your mind. It's going to take an adjustment, right? And the only way that you really get ahead with this full moon is by speaking up, but not from here, right? There's a need for you to be really honest about how you feel right now. And it might make you feel like, really vulnerable. It might feel like a burden to, suddenly have to talk so much about your feelings, right? It could also be highlighting these situations that are going on with a family member, in particular, a sibling. Venus retrograde trying the North Node in Aries. This is 3rd house, 11th house stuff for you. Communications from the past are absolutely possible right now. It could see you dusting off old ideas or skills, especially like in that trine to the North Node. There's a chance that a friendship or a fated connection through a collaborator could have amazing results for your finances right now. So love this for you. Because Venus rules money, right? So Venus retrograde squaring Uranus. This is happening across the 3rd and the 12th house. If ever you were going to hear from an ex, this would probably be around the time. It could also be that it's creating a tension around breaking free from a past issue, belief, or even understanding. Or maybe it's even highlighting to you where you thought something for so long that you don't even realize that it's actually getting in your way or stopping you from moving forward in a dynamic or a powerful way. So, yes, it can be a challenge, but absolutely there's gold here if you go for it. By letting go of what you believe to be your value in the skills that you are used to using as well. So let me rephrase it. The 3rd house is skills, right? 12th house is endings, etc. And so one of the things that I will say to you is this. You could find a way to really look at this, like what people attribute value to when it comes to your own skills is different to what you perceive to be that. And this could help you shift that so that you can either, up your prices, ask for more money, or even just say, actually, you know what, I do this really, really well. And this I could probably stand to brush up on. Pluto in an exact square to the nodes. Pluto in your 8th house once more. It's giving you a clearer picture of what you hadn't quite wrapped up around sex, sensuality, deep psychology, maybe even the spiritual and the occult realms, especially if you were born to a family that are like, were really hard on you because you had, interests in the occult and stuff. Oh my gosh, I grew up in a deeply devout Catholic, or Greek Orthodox on mum's side, and born again Christian on my dad's side. So big gay Raph comes along and is like, yeah guys, I'm totally into witchcraft and astrology and tarot, and they're like, oh, what did we do wrong? It's anathema, Pierre. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were really going in for it. So if you had that experience, this could really help you break out of that. It's not going to be easy because it is a square to the nodes, but there's a chance here that you can break out of that. It could also be that there's a passive income stream that needs to be adapted. Now is the time to do that kind of thing, right? That's the task that you've kind of been set, and it's going to require you and every skill that you have in your bag, my dear Geminis, to gain some new ones, right? Because the full moon for you is in that 9th house, which is a house of learning ultimately. For this, you have the 4 of Pentacles. I mean, why wouldn't you? It makes total sense. The message behind this is this full moon is really showing you where some of your ideas and ideologies and beliefs and even philosophies are so rigid that they are actually holding you back, and there's a chance for you to overcome them. What you get from this, or what you gain from it in the long run, is a sense of security and stability that will start to show up or feed into the material realm once you're clear. Cancer, my dear lunar brothers and sisters, y'all know I love you. Yes, I'm biased because I have the moon in Cancer, but you know I love my Cancerians. All right, so for you guys, this is in the 8th house. This is a focus on the depth of life, passion, sex, sensuality, power, magic, spirituality, the occult, right? The deep stuff. This is the house of the taboo. And so what do you want to get into bed with, right? That's the question here. Whenever we're talking about the 8th house, I'm not going to swear, but do you want to it? Do you want to do the do? Right? Do you want to do the do with the thing that you are focused on most at this moment in time? If yes, it's a way forward. If no, chuck it in the F it bucket and move on. Full moon square to Jupiter. So you've got the sun in Leo in your 2nd house of money, finances, and resources. The moon is in the 8th house, right, for you, which is Aquarius. And then you've got Jupiter in the 11th. The sun in your 2nd is bringing a desire for more money, more resources, and a better sense of self-worth. And it's bringing that into focus and clarity for you, right? Right. I can see you guys in the comment like, did he just? Yes. Right. However, your needs are very much about how you're how desirable you feel you are. And this could actually be the thing that's impacting your wealth, your money, and your resources right now. You know, and I'm just going to say it. I mean, YouTube's totally going to penalize me for this, but I'm just going to come out and say it. The moon is really showing you, and it's showing you like your value and your self-esteem, and it's showing you how fuckable you think you are to others through your own eyes. And that is a part of what is either activating or hindering your own wealth, generating ability. I can't say it again because I'm sure YouTube's probably gonna bad Rafi, right? But this is what I mean about desirable. Yeah, like really in the 8th house is scorpionic, right? The Scorpio rules the genitals, the sex organs. It rules the procreative stuff. So love it. I said it so eloquently. It's the British in me, baby. So Jupiter in the 11th is bringing true visionary capacity to this, right? Jupiter is a visionary energy anyway. The 11th house is very much about the future. So you're getting a glimpse into the future that really highlights it, that lights you up and shows you what is possible. The question is, where do I get the resources that I need in order to make this happen? So this full moon could actually give you an amazing idea or download of some sort. And then you think, okay, where am I going to get the cash to make this happen? That will follow shortly. All right. So Saturn, ruler of the full moon, Saturn's in your 9th house, crystallizing your ability to tap into the spiritual ideas and realm. Saturn is a very spiritual energy, right? It really is. And it may also be helping you get clearer on what you believe and why. And in an opposition to Mercury in the sign of Virgo, you're getting a chance to verbalize or vocalize something that feels almost like hard to explain. It's like it will require a lot of tact, maybe because of the people that are taking in what you're trying to say. It's not going to be easy. There's chances here that maybe it comes with a kick in the teeth, or maybe there's complaints about what you say or how you say it. Yet, in order for you to get ahead and, to really think fast on your feet and enact your desires, you're going to have to say it. You're going to have to do something, my dear Cancerians, that you absolutely hate, right? Now, let me give an example here, because what I'm about to, let me say it first, right? You're going to have to share your thoughts and feelings. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Cancer's a very feeling sign and they live in their emotions and all the rest of it. We are, Cancer moon. Cancer is a very emotional sign. They don't necessarily talk about or divulge their feelings to just anybody. sometimes if anyone, right? And so that's something that we need to sort of clarify as a distinction. This Mercury Saturn opposition, you're going to have to dig into that stuff and say, okay, you know what, usually I kind of expect people to know how I feel from the way that I behave, etc. You know, if I'm withdrawn or whatever. This time you can't do that. You got to open up that throat chakra, lubricate, and you got to say it, right? You got to get it out there. Now, Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde time. I am so badly behaved today. I usually do this a lot more sort of like anyway. Venus retrograde trine the North Node in Aries. This is happening across that 2nd and 10th house sort of space. Venus is enhancing your self-worth. She rules this house naturally, so she's going to be doing good work there for you, which is fantastic. You're getting to see how valuable you are, what you offer, and she's also bringing back old ways of making money back into, you know, into the possibility. And in connection to that North Node in the career sector, there's a fated connection or a partnership that maybe comes back around. And it's like this time you're able not only to make sense of it, but to do something with it. And because it's under a full moon, it's like you can see this in the clear light of day and you're like, yes, I know that this is it, right? Good things come if you're in it for the long haul. While the North Node is insatiable, it's not fast. This is something that I and maybe it's just me, right? I could totally be wrong. I'm not the best astrologer in the world, but a lot of people, when they talk about the North Node, they're like, yeah, it's just going to show up, snap like that. No, the North Node is an insatiable energy that drives us towards something specific, you know, hell for leather, but it doesn't give its goodies quickly or overnight. North Node, the nodes in general take like let's say 18 months to move through a set of signs. So this isn't going to be like, yeah, here it is and bam. It's going to take time, but this full moon is kicking that off, I feel. Venus retrograde square Uranus. This is the second pass of this, right? So this is the second time that we're having Venus, which is now retrograde, squaring Uranus. Something's here is like a readjustment. Cindy Cara, lovely to have you. Yeah, for sure. If a Cancer tells you something very personal, especially if it's about the home or the family or what's going on with them internally, you are in a sanctum. Do not mess with that. Okay, just going to put that out there. The 11th is, again, it's a house of gains from your business. So this is the square that's kind of the square between Venus retrograde and Uranus. It's forcing you to level up whether you want to or not. And then finally, Pluto in the square to the nodes, Pluto in that 7th house of Capricorn, right the way over. Partnerships, home, family, career, they're all demanding different things from you. But Pluto back in that 7th house is basically asking you to be real and get into the nitty-gritty of what it is that you want from your relationships. Be honest, suck the marrow out of the bones of life and demand nothing less than what sets your soul on fucking fire. All right, like my Cancerians, I'm talking to you right now, whether this is your sun, your moon, or your ascendant. That Pluto in the 7th house, it's showing you to kind of say, look, this is what I'm heading towards, and this is what I want, and these are the people that are coming with me. For this, you have the 3 of Cups. All right, so the fact that it's in the 8th house, who are your most mischievous friends? Those are the people that you want to be spending time with around this full moon, right? What I can tell you about the ones that are mischievous and cheeky, and you know, they always tell you even when you don't want to hear it, or they'll tell you, you know, what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. Those are your realist people. Those are your realist friends. And sometimes spending time with them, yes, it might unlock some of your, you know, naughtier sides. It is an 8th house transit for you after all, but this actually may be exactly what you need, is a little bit of mischief right now. Leo, my ascendant brothers and sisters, this full moon for you is happening in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships. Focus on personal, professional, platonic relationships is all your mind can think of at the moment. Being connected to another person intimately might be a really deep desire for you at this moment in time. Follow that, because it's, you know, it's ultimately you following what the energy is doing for you or with you. And the way that I see all of these transits, whether they're short ones, long ones, full moon, new moon, eclipse, whatever it is, it's about tapping into the tide of energy that is available to you and saying, okay, you know what, this is a rough tide, so I'm just going to ride it as best I can. You know, even if I get out of it looking like a, you know, a drowned rat, fine, no problem. But when those good transits come in, I'm going to ride that energy with the wave at my back. The sun is in your sign. It's bringing light, heat, attention, focus to yourself. It's helping you see and be really honest and real about what you desire for yourself and what you require right now. It might also be asking you to start understanding where your personal authority actually lies. Where do you have weight? Where are you the authority figure? The moon in the 7th house is showing you that you need other people to make these things happen, or to not even discover your authority, but to help you shape and hone it in a way that is received well by the rest of the world. Connecting to others, opening up to other people and the connections around you and that are available to you is the way that you move forward, right? And that Jupiter in the 10th house is expanding your reach. It's showing you what is possible. It's asking you to think bigger and broader than you have previously, and to take off the shackles and the reins, right? Like this, for a lot of you as well, going alone, I have to say, is not the right way, especially not around this full moon and as a follow-up after it. There's possibly as well, if you're single, you know, that need to couple up is probably going to be real. Saturn in the 8th house will have seen you, you know, really having to work a lot harder for your money. When it comes to passive money, if you've got a business where you work with clients, etc., or other businesses, you know, it might have been harder to come by that money. It's also seen less in the way of partners' money if you're partnered, married, etc. I think what's really happening here, though, you're being asked to get serious and responsible with the money that comes to you through other people, right? So if you make money, like let's say you've got a business like I have where you make money from other people, how you spend that money, what you do with it, that hard-earned money that is, you know, at the moment a buzzword for everybody because the world is crazy, how you respect that is really, really important right now. I remember reading something years ago, and it was this person said that how you feed yourself, like where the money that you use to feed yourself comes from matters, right? So if you're out there doing all kinds of dodgy business and all the rest of it and hurting people and, you know, selling guns and drugs and everything, and you're eating from that money, you're absolutely battering your soul and your energy. And it really stuck with me. I mean, I wasn't up to no good. Not going to sit here and say I'm an angel, darling, but you kind of get my point. But it really stuck with me. That made such an impression. And it's the same, right? Even if you're not out here doing wrong, you're a steward of the money that you make from other people. And so how you use that, is it sensible? Is it good? Is it right? Are you doing good things for yourself and other people with that money? It matters. And I think that's what Saturn in the 8th is really trying to show the Leos at the moment. Now, in the opposition to Mercury in the 2nd, Mercury's in Virgo, which is your 2nd house, you're being asked to have some really serious conversations around money, finances. Mercury does good work here. But will soon go retrograde in this sign. Saturn's already retrograde. So it's like, are you ready to completely overhaul your entire financial outlook? The full moon in the 7th means that help and insights for this are coming through other people, and probably in ways that you don't expect. Venus retrograde in your sign, trine the North Node in Aries. This is 1st house, 9th house stuff. Venus is in your sign. She's been getting you to really understand yourself more, to see yourself more as other people see you, and maybe even to improve that image if you can or if you want to. It's helping you get clear on your values, your self-esteem, how you think of yourself, revising your image. In a trine to the North Node in the ninth house, this is blessings that come from mentors, coaches, teachers, etc. It could also potentially be that for some of you, you're becoming teachers or going back to teaching. I'm now teaching tarot once more, which is something that I absolutely love. It's, you know, it could be something or someone that comes from your past as well. So Venus retrograde, maybe there's a version of you that has been dormant or sleeping that is coming back now. Venus retrograde square Uranus, first house, 10th house stuff. In a square to Uranus, Venus retrograde is showing you that some idea from your past when it comes to your career might be about to have its moment, right? However, it is a square, so it's like if you're up for changing, which can be rare, there might be an element of your past that kind of doesn't allow for it. Or remember, when we make changes, people around us and the people that we're connected to, their reference point to us has to shift. Otherwise, the universe and the energy will vibrate them clear out of your life. If they can't sort of stop you from changing, you know, well, that's what they try to do, right? Well, oh no, we can't have you changing because then I have to change to continue to fit into your world. What's it going to be? All right, it's up to you, Leo. Now, Pluto back in your sixth house. Pluto in that sixth is highlighting any and all final health challenges or issues that will need to be addressed before it moves, but you know, back into the sign of Aquarius. Powerful stuff, right? Because Pluto here could potentially reveal enemies or people that don't really have your best interests at heart, especially because it's retrograde. It could also, because it's in square to both of the nodes, it could be ending a current cycle on a daily level. And on the side of the ninth house, where that North Node is, it's initiating a new way of working based on your own principles and beliefs. And it's like where you are out of alignment with what you say you want and, you know, the energy disagrees or agrees with, there will potentially be an abrupt ending or beginning, right? So there's a while yet, and you know it won't come back into till January of 2024. For this, you've got the Four of Swords. I mean, slow and steady is going to win the race. There's a lot of fixed energy going on at this time. Fixed energy doesn't budge. You know, I was going to say fixed energy moves slowly. It just doesn't move. Okay. It's a very fixed energy that's in the world at the moment. And because a part of this, the sun in Leo at the moment is you're being encouraged to really take the time that you have at the moment. And it's going to be through deep observation that you can really effectively move forward. All right. Like, even if it is slower than normal. Virgo, my dear Virgos, in your sixth house, focus on health, vitality, and your daily experience, highlighting your rituals and your routines and the magic that can be found in the mundane. The full moon square to Jupiter, so the sun in your 12th house in Leo, moon in the sixth house, Jupiter in the ninth. This for you is focusing on it's almost like what brings a mental and spiritual health desire in. So maybe to readdress your past in some way, to go back to a therapeutic process, maybe just to steal away from the world for a bit and get into your own companies. It's like you're maybe seeking to do the Hermit card, which represents you in the tarot. The moon in your sixth house is highlighting what you need right now, and that's nurturing on a physical level. Maybe it's food and nutrition, but maybe it's rest and reflection and recuperation. Jupiter in the ninth house is bringing an added spiritual layer to this, and it could be a powerful full moon of healing and insights. And it's actually looking like the nicest full moon for you lot, even with that T-square. You know, so I actually really like this for you guys. The Saturn and Mercury opposition. Mercury's in your first house. This is your energy is in your sign where it's exalted, coming into a direct opposition. So this is making you sharp, focused, decisive, all the things that you usually are, dialed up to like an 11, right? Um, you're being stopped still though when it comes to relationships and partnerships, and you're being asked to really consider what it is that you require and to be vocal about it. Virgo is another one of these signs. You'll never know when they need something. However, they notice every little detail about how you like your coffee, if you have one sugar or two. Do you have your top button sort of right up to the top, or do you always have it open? They notice those little things. And because you notice those things about other people, people tend to take Virgo's kindness as just like, for granted. You're going to have to speak up here. All right. Like it could be that a partnership or a connection or collaboration feels burdensome in some way, and you've got to speak up. Venus retrograde in the sign of Leo, in your 12th house, trine the North Node in your 8th house. Venus in the 12th, North Node in the 8th. It's a return to a deep, powerful subject or realization. There's a chance here that there's a way to make money through connections from the past as the ruler of your 2nd and your 9th house as well. This could be a financial opportunity that's highlighted, but it stays in your world for the foreseeable future. It relies, though, on you finding a way to rework this thing into your present experience or your daily routine. Venus retrograde squaring Uranus. This is 12th house, 9th house. There's a surprise that comes through spirit, right? Uranus is very much a surprising energy. It's a sense here that a realization or even a dream, like something that you have as like a spiritual insight or like a flash or a download, is actually really great, but you're kind of like at a loss as to what to do with it right now. Or maybe you don't see its worth or value immediately, but then somebody kind of says to you, hang on a sec. So maybe you go and buy a trinket and somebody says to you, do you know what you've just bought? And you're like, nah, I thought it was cool. I bought it because I wanted it, and that's it. And they're like, oh yeah, they're really rare and it's worth like this and this. Pluto squaring the nodes. Pluto in your 5th house, returning. This is eliminating the dregs of doubt around your own creativity. And in a square to the nodes, it's saying that your financial future and destiny are at stake here. And it's going to take you to release the past and any old ideas or even deeply held psychological beliefs that you have around money, to embrace the desire that you have, to kind of give the best of you, right, to yourself effectively. This is really about accepting your own worth and understanding your requirements from and for yourself. And what your soul kind of came here to do when it comes to money is now being revealed to you. You just can't make it up, right? Just look at that, right? Your card is the Hermit card. I said I thought this full moon was going to be, best for you guys because of that T-square, and there you are, right? Enough said, I think. Libra, this for you is happening in your 5th house, a focus on your love life, romance, sensuality, sexuality, and fun. Freedom and frolicking are all par for the course around this full moon. The full moon in the T-square, the sun in the 11th, is highlighting your desire to connect to larger groups, to connect with friends, to really enjoy the fruits of your labor when it comes to what you get out of your career. And the moon in the 5th is saying that what you need right now, because it's in the 5th house, is fun, freedom, liberation, and excitement. This is about finding time to tap into your inner child, or maybe your inner teenager, let's say, and letting them out to play. Jupiter in as the anchor for this in your 8th house, it's kind of saying, because Jupiter is the cohesive energy, it's very spiritual, it's very psychic as well, very healing. It's in the 8th house. So it's like, if you fuse what you want and what you need, this is really about giving into your own taboo seeking nature and kind of, I want to say Libra, because you're Venus ruled, and I talked about this at the beginning of the video. Let go of your need for things to be clean and pretty. around this full moon, if you can get into a little bit of the nitty gritty and a little bit of the naughty and the dirty, I think you could have an absolute blast. In fact, link up with your Geminis, or is it your Cancerians? Yeah, link up with, if you've got Cancerians in your life, Libra and Cancer, this full moon is for you guys. Saturn in opposition to Mercury across the 12th and the 6th house. It's probably seen you becoming, work maybe has become a lot heavier, a lot less fun, and maybe helped you start to crystallize or build a schedule that is a bit more solid and a bit more routine. Mercury is exalted in your 12th. It gives you the power to read the room. It gives you the power to telepathically draw what you need out of people, to read between the lines, to get into the subtext. That means that if you're, for you, but however, because you can read that stuff, usually Libra will kind of drop hints, they will suggest, not going to cut it. This time, if you want something, you just got to speak up. Venus, your ruler, is in your 11th house, retrograde. It means that you've probably been rethinking friendships, group associations, even looking at your own technological savvy in some way. In a trine to the North Node in the 7th, you're in luck because it looks like the right people that you need are coming in, and you're forging partnerships with people that are divulging information that is going to be really useful to you. It also suggests that maybe, so if you're single and you're looking to date, you could meet someone through a friend. It might also see a blessing in your relationship that you have been waiting for. So if there's been like a secret hope or a desire in a relationship that's currently ongoing, this could be the time where it shows up. Venus retrograde, square to Uranus in the 8th house. Is the second pass of this transit. Something needs to be adjusted when it comes to your sexuality and maybe even your future, when it comes to money, passive income, or even group associations. You might be rethinking what and who you're connected to and how those really affect your earning potential. Pluto is in an exact square to the nodes. Pluto in the 5th house, eliminating anything holding you back from enjoying life in true form. It's helping you phase out what is not allowing you to be your authentic self, as you understand your authentic self to be, not somebody else. Squaring to the nodes, it's asking you to get serious about what and who you are connected to, what you're cutting moving forward, because the nodes for you are in the 1st and the 7th house. It's all about you. It's all about relationships. It could also be making them truly equal, but potentially removing ones that are toxic, or maybe even revealing your own brand of toxicity to you. For this, of course, you have your ruling card, which is Libra. It's Venus. It's not Venus, it's the Empress, right? So this is your card, well, one of your cards, effectively. And so what this means is it really can be fun. It really can be enjoyable, and there is pleasure to be found. This is really a pleasure card. It's really all about, getting the most and enjoying the most. So for you, I advise you do it, and do it big, right? Scorpio, for you, this is happening in your 4th house of home, family, property, real estate, and your deep emotional self. The full moon square to Jupiter, so Sun in the 10th house. It's highlighting your desire, the desires that you have for your career, where you want to go, what you want to be known for, the legacy that you want to leave behind in the world. It's also suggesting that you get a solid understanding of your desire, excuse me, of your desires around your legacy, right? So that moon in the 4th house is highlighting family matters and how those are really your needs, right? And it's kind of like whatever the family needs or desires from you, those things are really they will feed and nourish you as well. Jupiter as the anchor in your 7th house is showing you how to blend the home and family life and the career and the relationship in order to get the most out of life. If there were ever a transit saying that you can kind of have it all, you just need to understand the Temperance card in tarot, this is it, right? This full moon is going to show you, because of that anchor of Jupiter, it's showing you what measure of this, what measure of this, and what measure of this that you need. How to tap into it. I know a lot of you, I can literally feel the panic, like, okay, I can have what I want. How do I do that, Raf? Journal, meditate, ask your higher self, go on what I like to call a witch's walk. So I will go out into the woods and I will just walk and I'll collect, whatever calls to me at the time. Different items. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's just a realization or a thought that I have. But there's always something to be gleaned from it. And when I get back, I tend to look at the items that I've collected and see what messages come from those. Hopefully I've given you enough ideas, right? Okay, so Saturn opposing Mercury. This is happening across the 5th house and the 11th. It's challenging you to think deeper about your creative ideas and projects. And what you have wanted, if superficial, will kind of, now it will seem really pale and you'll think to yourself, wow, you know what, actually, I could be doing so much more. In opposition to Mercury in your 11th house, there's a feeling that you have to start waking up to the possibility that your circle, yes, even you, my dear Scorpios, needs to be broadened in some way. You need fresh blood, fresh meat, right? That sounds so grim. As the ruler of your 8th house, Mercury is helping you speak up on your deeper desires, but that opposition means that there's no moving forward without speaking up. All right. And that's for all of us. It just, the only thing, sorry, I have to put the fan down. It is so freaking humid in the UK at this moment in time. Like, I went to my holiday and it was really nice and it was warm and it was hot and all the rest of it. And sorry, guys, I have to get rid of this. Okay. Remove. Ooh. Okay, hide. And then, okay, sorry about that. We had be gone, troll. You have no power here. All right, so Venus retrograde. Trine the North Node. This is happening across the 6th and the 10th houses. Now, the Venus retrograde in Leo is helping you rethink and redefine what it means to be public, what it means to be on display, what it means to be sharing something with the world, right? And in a trine to the North Node in the 6th house, there's a sense that your work is taking on a more dynamic, long-term successful outlook. It's going to require you to revise ideas of success, maybe even what it means to perceive your legacy and your destiny in the world. There's time though, right? It's not going to be an overnight thing. You've got time, but you're kind of really looking at it in a different way. All right. All right. So, in fact, Il, are you still in the room, lovely? I'm going to add you as a moderator. Thank you, darling. And Cindy Cara, my darling, I hope you're still in the room. I'm making you a moderator as well. So if we get any more trolls, etc., you can just kind of deal with them. Thank you. Love you much. All right. So where was I? Venus retrograde square Uranus across the 10th and the 7th, right? So this is the second part of this transit in particular. And it's kind of shaking you out of the connections that you've had up until now. It's really, in a lot of ways, it's highlighting the problem where, you know, and for some of you as well, the way that this could also show up now that I think about it from this perspective, this Venus retrograde in your 10th, because it's coming across the 7th and you've got this whole thing going on with the 6th house as well, some problem or challenge person in your world when it comes to work, etc., could literally be removed from your life. So, you know, if you've had a problem with a boss or a superior, etc., like you could just literally see the universe come in and be like, nope, we'll take that out. Thank you. As we like to say, the trash took itself out. Pluto is in a Z square. So Pluto for you is going to be in the 3rd house. highlighting broken communication lines. Isn't it so interesting that I'm talking about broken communication lines and we had all of this stuff going on here? So funny. You, Nick. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. This could, for you as well, it could be that you're phasing out what doesn't speak to any of the future for you. And this could be releasing connections in your local area. It might even be the daily tasks that you're retiring. So there could be things that you do of a daily level, or things, you know, and people and stuff that you connect with in your local area on that day-to-day level that you're like, yeah, you know what, this has served its purpose, and now I'm making more time, space, effort, and energy for new things to come in. Because the nodes for you are now in the 6th and the 12th house, you're being really asked to upgrade your maintenance of your physical, mental, and spiritual health. All right, so for you, my dear Scorpios, you've got the Tower card. I don't fear this for you. And it doesn't scare me for you. If anything, I'm actually very excited for this, because it means that you're about to have a really powerful realization around how you break out of a rut in some way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really, really, I think this is going to advance you. And remember, with the Tower card as well, what tends to happen with this is it kind of breaks the stagnancy, right? It breaks something that we thought was stable, and it kind of takes it and says, no, that doesn't work for us anymore. So I'm actually kind of happy to see the Tower card for you guys. All right. So for Sagittarius, 3rd house, focus on your daily experience, communications, your skill set, even your mind and its outlook, right? Could be a lot of ideas being highlighted for you around this full moon, as well as sibling connections. The full moon in a square to Jupiter, so the sun in the 9th house in Leo, moon in the 3rd house of Aquarius, and Jupiter in the 6th house for you, right? So the sun in the 9th, it's natural, it's in its natural. So the sun in the 9th is amazing, because the 9th house is your house, it's your energy, but it's in the sign of Leo, which is the sign that the sun rules. This is a powerful combination. So your desire energy is right up there. It's in the loftiest, most powerful, shining space that it can be right now. And it's helping you see what you want from your life in a really clear way. And also, it's showing you how you extract that through spirituality or through your belief system in some way, which will be shifting a lot at the moment, because Venus is in that space as well, and she's retrograde now. So the moon in your 3rd house, it's showing you what you need. And it's like, that's new material, new insights, new information, new input. And maybe because it's the 3rd house, 9th house axis, maybe it's new skills. Maybe you're going back to school in some way. Or for some of you, because it's a full moon, you could be finishing up school. You could be wrapping up something to do with school, work, college, etc. This could really be a moment where, for some of you, the obstacles that have been coming from things that haven't finished yet, or it's like that frustration, you know, when you're so near the end of a course and you're like, I don't know why I need to do exams. I know what I'm doing. I'm totally proficient in this. And then you get out into the real world after you've passed your test and you're driving and you're like, okay, maybe I'm not as proficient as I thought. And you start kind of like, so yeah, absolutely. You have Il, who is Sagittarius, says she has just finished her last exam yesterday and has officially finished her business course. I'm so happy for you, celebrating. All right, so Saturn, the ruler, Saturn in opposition to Mercury. This is happening. So Saturn's in your 10th house, sorry, in your 4th house. And Mercury is in your 10th house, right? So these both do good work in the spaces that they're in. Home, family, potentially parents have felt heavier, more weighty in some regard. It might just be the memory of certain things as well for a select few of you. It could be that a parental figure maybe becomes a bit more of a burden around this time, or it's highlighted how they are not holding you back, but it's like you feel the weight of the responsibility. Mercury in your 10th house, along with Mars, you know, and I felt like it was worth mentioning that Mars is there for you guys, because I wonder if this opposition will see you being very clear on what needs to be removed in the career, or what you have to let go of or give up in order to really do the home life right. It might see you having to get really vocal about a service that about something around your public life or your persona, and maybe it feels like more hassle than it's worth. Yeah, like really interesting. If you're thinking about releasing a new service, etc., or retiring a new service, this could be a good time to do it. Venus retrograde trying the North Node in Aries across your ninth and your fifth house. Venus in the ninth doing good work there for you, helping you redefine your beliefs and extract the real worth and value from your visions of the future. I love this transit for you guys. I really, really do. It might also help you understand what your knowledge is really worth. All right, so love that. Now, Venus retrograde square to Uranus across the ninth and the sixth houses. This is the second pass of this transit, which means something needs now to kind of be readjusted. What that kind of depends on is what is available in your mind. Is there space for you to add something new? I mean, the Sagittarius mind is one of the vastest spaces on the planet, so I'm sure there is. But you know, Uranus in the sixth will have been really breaking you out of ruts, routines, showing you that doing things in new and exciting or even dynamic ways is what's important right now. In a square, the value that you place on your knowledge and the belief around what you feel is relevant to your working life, especially on a daily level, is what's being shaken up for you. So messages from spirit about how you see things in reality is potentially what needs to change, and that daily experience is kind of where it's at. Finally, Pluto in this square to the nodes. Pluto is in your second house once more, supporting that Venusian work that's happening in your ninth. This is about eliminating whatever hampers your self-worth so that you have a greater access not only to your creativity, but also to your resources and the resources that you can bring in through that creativity. There's something in here as well, you know, in the square to the nodes, it's like seeing things from a higher perspective, which is what you're all about. For this, you've got the fifth of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles. I love this for you, actually, because it means that by acknowledging what maybe you don't have and being okay with that, to say, actually, you know what? I don't have the knowledge or the skill in this area. I need to learn more. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to ask for help. Sagittarius tend not to ask for help, but this time you could. And you could be met with such a rush of love and support that you're like, huh, okay, maybe it is okay to ask for help from once in a while. Capricorn. So for you guys, this is happening in your second house of money, finances, resources. It's also about how you feel, what you feel are your possessions of note and worth, and maybe highlighting what's going on with your money. So the T square for you is happening Sun in the 8th house, Moon in the 2nd, Jupiter in the 5th. The Sun in your 8th is highlighting something around the deeper side of partnerships and maybe even having some secrets revealed to you. This could actually be a good thing. It could potentially be around finances, or maybe just a sharing of what you want or needing more support from a partner and not knowing how to say so. The Moon is saying that your needs right now is more understanding of what you bring to the table from others and from yourself. And there's something in this around honesty, revelation, realization. And Jupiter, as the synthesizing energy of this in the 5th house, is basically saying that it says that getting back to the fun, to the play of life, right, is what's really missing. By finding it again, you can come back into a sense of alignment, but it requires honesty and integrity because it's Jupiter. So this is really about sort of finding the fun, okay, and the enjoyment and the pleasure and the romance and remembering to be swept up in it all. So Saturn as the ruler, Saturn opposing Mercury. This is 3rd house, 9th house stuff. So if ever this were about your communication, about speaking up, it's about redefining or hardening your communication style or refining it in some way. There might have been moments where you feel like you're not able to speak or you feel like you're being silenced. In opposition to Mercury, which is demanding you to speak up, in that sort of fellow earth sign of Virgo, this is your moment, right? This is one of those, and not to get too sort of deep and heavy or scary with it, but I know I can go here with you guys. When Britney Spears finally spoke up, and yes, she read it from a letter, and yes, I read from my notes to keep me on track because it gets a little busy in here, right? But when she finally spoke up, the whole world was like, whoa. We thought you were crazy on your Instagram and you're always half naked and all the rest of it. Yes, yeah, blah, 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 all of that. Yeah, she had a mental breakdown. But when she really spoke up and she owned her truth and said what she needed to say, the whole world listened. This Saturn is you as a Capricorn opposing Mercury. It's asking you to speak up. And if there's some area of your life right now, work, your daily experience with siblings, with family, with teachers, etc., where you really haven't felt heard, this is one of those moments where you have to plant your feet and you have to say what you need to say. And then people, like when they hear you, people are going to be like, damn, that's what we've been missing. Venus retrograde trying the North Node in the sign of Aries. This is happening. So Venus in retrograde in your 8th house, North Node in Aries in your 4th house. Powerful stuff, right? Anything that happens in the 4th, the 8th, or the 12th is always very powerful. Venus in the 8th house is a nice touch because she's bringing healing to a house that represents conflict and crisis. In a trine to that North Node in the 4th house, there's an ability to see the future of what something could be, instead of like the doom and gloom of what it kind of feels like at the moment. There's somewhere here you can find transcendence, but there's some moments here that reveal to you where you need to change your mind, or your approach. And it's like where your emotions are potentially out of whack and you need to bring them back into some kind of sense of alignment or balance. It's never easy to hear that, but if you do this work, you can absolutely move ahead. Definitely been doing a lot of speaking up and it's been liberating. I love that, right? So Cindy is a Capricorn, so perfect, right? It's really, really cool. Venus retrograde in your 8th house, squaring Uranus, right? So this is a little more challenging. It's the second time you're seeing this energy, which is showing you that something needs to be adjusted. It's where you potentially surprise yourself with a romance where maybe you take your partner by storm. Maybe, if you're single, maybe you jump into something with somebody that you never expected. Whatever this does represent, there's an element here that Capricorn is getting back to its teenage self. And I said this last month as well, and it's been like a theme that's been coming through. I really feel like Capricorn's getting a second wind now. As a Saturnian being, you guys age backwards anyway. Like Aquarians and Capricorns, we get younger and more fun and more outgoing, and we don't tend to, the years tend to be kind to us. Pluto back in your sign in that 1st house once more. It's showing you what needs to now be cleaned and cleared up for good. It's showing you what needs to be released in order for you to move on. And square to the nodes, which are now newly in your 4th and your 10th house, your eclipse cycle is going to start showing up and demonstrating where what you want for yourself in your life is challenged by the requirements of family, home, property, real estate from you. Now, what and who you choose is completely up to you. Having just gone through that 4th house, 10th house cycle, I will say this to you as a word of advice. Define what you want for yourself and refuse to compromise on. And when you will and you won't drop everything for family, once you do that and you hold those boundaries, I promise you the eclipses will be so, so easy for you to navigate. All right. For you, your card is the Eight of Swords. Okay, so it's a challenge card. And I actually feel like this is speaking really directly to the Saturn part of this, the Saturn-Mercury part of it. As soon as you start speaking up, you'll realize not only, as Cindy said, are you liberated, but you also realize, you know what? I'm not trapped here. There is a way out. And it's just by speaking up and speaking out. Aquarius, my sun sign brothers and sisters, big love for you guys. I had a dream last night. In the dream, I was my teenage self. I love it. It's just so perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. Aquarius, my sun sign brothers and sisters. So this is happening in your first house. This is an astral spotlight on you, right? This year, my dear Aquarius, we are having 2 full moons in the sign of Aquarius, 2 moments of highlighting you from, by, or through the universe, which means, you know, and anything that happens in your sign, obviously the planets are always, you know, doing their own thing. The universe is always in its own element of control. But when something happens in our sign or in our first house, I believe it gives us a modicum of control of what it shapes up to be. Sun is in the 7th house, moon is in the 1st house, Jupiter in the 4th. The moon in the 1st house is showing you that your needs right now are to focus on yourself, your health, your wealth, and your happiness, and quite rightly so. After all the tumultuous stuff that Aquarius has been on just this year, let alone like the last 2.5, 3 years, this is one of those moments. Revel in it, right? It's showing you that actually this is a moment for you where you get to shine, and that by doing so, you open yourself up to being a leader of sorts, which, whether you like it or not, is something that you need, right? The desire right now, though, is being shown by the sun, and that's for partnership and connection and ultimately intimacy. This is, it might be personal, professional, platonic. Jupiter in the synthesizing energy that it is in that 4th house is showing you that this is a moment of checking in with your emotions. I promise I won't tell anyone that you have them. See you soon, Carlisha. Big love. You know, by opening up and really pulling your emotional self into alignment with your desires and your thoughts, you will find a way through, you know, vision and feeling that's showing you how to do both. All right. Saturn, your ancient ruling planet, in the 2nd house at this moment in time, Mercury in the 8th house. There's been a decent amount of time now that Saturn's been in the sign of Pisces. So showing you how to do more with less and to actually use sparingly what is available to you. The reframe here to your finances is that you have access to the same of everything. It's just harder to come by and you're less frivolous, right? So it's almost like, yeah. And then the opposing Mercury in the 8th house, there's a communication here that highlights either your psychological makeup around money and finances. Maybe somebody challenging you in some way will actually help you really get serious about your financial outlook. It could be as well that under the light of the full moon, because Saturn is the ruler of this full moon, it shows you how to actually, to be like how a more spiritual perspective or, you know, thought process and system around money is actually what you need right now and from here on in. Venus retrograde trine the North Node. This is, so Venus retrograde in the 7th in the sign of Leo, North Node in Aries in the 3rd house. This is a trine to this 3rd house. Exes are back in town, all right? So if you've got them, watch out for it, because this is potentially where they show up. Potentially, though, this could be you. And whatever way it is, reconnections are there. Forging new connections are also possible, but ones that you might be unsure of. And whenever there's a Venus retrograde, if you're meeting somebody new, I do urge a little bit more caution because you're not seeing everything about them. However, because all of this is happening under the light of a full moon, this could be a moment of realization where you very kind of quickly say, yeah, you know what, this is not for me. Or I can actually give you a really good example of this. Just recently, Rafi started talking to someone and it was kind of cool. And, I was maybe a little bit interested. And then it kind of fizzled out, or I had a realization. And this was like literally just yesterday, where I was kind of like, no. And as soon as I made that decision, I broke a trinket, right? Just a little thing that somebody had bought me, that my mum had actually bought me years ago. I love this thing. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I was gutted, and I was like, oh, I need to re-glue this thing back together, and I need to keep it. Two things. One, the fact that the item broke once I ended that connection was validation for me that it was definitely the right move to release that person from my life. Two, I realized that trinket, that item, was given to me in a period of my life. I love my past, and I can tell you, one day I will divulge more of it. Some of it is gritty. There are a lot of things that I don't share with people because I don't know if they're ready, or whatever. And in looking at that item and reframing it and saying to myself, well, you know what, that's actually from a period in my life that was very heavy and actually quite dark. No, I can let that go now. All right. So that Venus retrograde, especially under this full moon, for you, Aquarius, could be doing some good things. Venus retrograde, square Uranus. This is the second pass. Something is now being readjusted that might have to do with relationships that you have with family, but could just as easily be about how you make familial ties with either the wrong kinds of people, or people that aren't necessarily in the right space. It is a square, which means potentially surprises in love and or relationships, and it might come through some kind of disappointment. I hope that's not the case, but it's possible. Finally, Pluto in the 12th house, of Capricorn, which is squaring the nodes. This is potentially, it's one of the heavier transits for any of the signs, and it's showing you the hidden and true potential of your soul. And I don't say that lightly. It's also revealing to you your own darkness and what needs to be eliminated from within in order for you to grow and for you to shine. In a square to the nodes between the 3rd and the 9th house, this is about the place that you live in and the connections there, right? So I will say there's a potential here for this Pluto is squaring the nodes. It's almost like the feeling that I get from it is a spider's web of sorts is being revealed. And it could see you understanding that releasing what you have known is going to be the only way that you can make space for what you need to know that's going to serve you better to fulfill the dreams that you have moving forward. All right, so powerful stuff. For this, we have the 9 of Pentacles. I'll take that. I'll really take that, because it means that you're starting to understand yourself as a person, a body, an energy of beauty and refinement. It's like this full moon is going to help you see yourself in a light that is so much better and brighter than before, and it's going to really show you what your worth and your value are. I love this because you're going to see not only yourself through your own energy and eyes, but through the eyes of others as well. And then finally, last but never least, my dear Pisces, this for you is a 12th house new moon. Focus is on your deep self, the past, personal history, and your mental health. This could be a blast from the past, or it could be a surprise of sorts that shows you where you need to do more inner work. And this is your natural house, right? So the fact that you've got a full moon shining the light into your personal closet, that's actually something to revel, because it shows you where the dark spots are and how you can overcome them, or how you can assimilate your shadow. It's never going to leave you, so you might as well make friends with your beastie. All right. Now, the sun is in the 6th house, moon in the 12th, and Jupiter in the 3rd. The sun in the 6th house is highlighting what you really want from your daily life. From your work, right? It's showing you what you feel is missing in your life because your attention is currently on it. This could be great for ideas, right? It really could. They could be popping, your creativity could just be absolutely off the charts. The moon in the 12th is showing you that ideas can come from anywhere, and that pain, past hurts, or even wounds can be turned into current pleasure and treasure, right? It really is just a matter of tapping into that Jupiter. You're being shown that the greatest magic comes from within and comes from spirit. There are many psychic revelations that could be showing up for you at this time. Jupiter, your ancient ruler, as a cohesive energy, is showing you that the best way for you to get ahead or to move forward is finding ways to communicate with your to communicate and connect and build connections in your local area. It's time to come out of your shell. It's time to swim up from the bottom of the sea and get into the lighter waters. The world is out there, right? And it requires you showing up and being a part of it to get the most out of it. Saturn is in your sign. Mercury is in your 7th house. I actually think Saturn in Pisces is doing really wonderful things for you guys. It's hardening your energy, your outlook. It's potentially streamlining and redefining a lot of your approach to life at the moment. And in opposition to Mercury, which is exalted in its home sign, there's a chance here that you're being forced to speak up on a personal matter, whether with a partner, with a personal, professional, or platonic connection. That will be down to your personal situation. The only way through this is communication, right? And if you kind of ignore doing that or speaking up about what you want, what you need, where you feel like you're actually at, that's where you're going to run into problems. All right. Like, this is a time for all of us, whatever the houses are. And I've said this for every sign because it's true. That Saturn is opposing Mercury. We're all getting a reality check. You have to speak up on something because Mercury's in its own sign. It's exalted there. And it's like the way out is by speaking up. That's how you get through it. Venus retrograde in the 6th house, which is Leo, is trine to the North Node in Aries. Venus in your 6th, trine the North Node in the 2nd. There is money to be made here, my dear Pisces. If you can redefine what you want from work and be honest about where you are or are not showing up in the way that you need to get the goodies, right? There's blessings here of sorts that can show up for you that really help you in some way, shape, or form when it comes to, work, but also when it comes to money. And this is something that lasts into your future. So it's like you will have to change how you do things on a daily level. Maybe even your home for a select few of you. Maybe the job is changing. Maybe the duties are changing. Maybe your skill set is changing. Maybe you're changing where you live in the world or, your local environment, etc. There is change that needs to be made. You are mutable water. You are the epitome of change, right? You can do this. Pisces can absolutely do this. Hello, Heidi. Lovely to have you. Venus retrograde square Uranus. So this is the 6th house, 3rd house. This is potentially a hard conversation because Uranus is in the 3rd. So some kind of shocking or disruptive news or information that makes you think twice about how you do things when it comes to work. It could also be a breakdown or the glitching of a website, potentially a problem with a phone or a computer, etc. Maybe that ends up costing money. I will say, if that is the case for you, though, it won't be something new. It will be something that's come up before. And I will say, if you've had something repaired and the same thing happens again, take it back to that person that fixed it and tell them you ain't do the job right. I mean, Venus is probably to blame as part of this, but okay. Pluto in an exact square to the nose. Pluto in that 11th house. It's helping you extract more worth. Remember, Pluto is not just death, destruction, and transformation. It's also about how we pull the purest potential of something. Pluto represents oil. Look at oil, right? It comes from the very depths and it's super, super pricey, expensive. It's got a very high net worth or value or whatever you want to call it. This Pluto is helping you get more worth and value from your career. And I say that because the 11th house is the gains from your career. right? But it's also your social circle and connections, people that you're connected to, and benefactors. This could be showing you where you need to really tap into your network that much more. It could also be showing you that you need to eliminate your self-worth issues and charge more, whether that's finding a new job that pays you more, whether it's upping your prices, maybe it's the need to go to therapy, or actually, you know, do the work that your current therapeutic journey is expressing to you. And the reason I say that is because the 8th house is you've got the North node in the 2nd of Aries, you've got the South node in the 8th of Libra. And, you know, the challenge with the therapeutic process is if you don't implement any of the stuff that they give you to do, it doesn't work, right? So I will leave you with this thought, my dear Pisces, and it's a really important one. I remember writing this and thinking, oh, girl, that was good. And that is, the future isn't set in stone. It's created every day by every decision and action. But a self-fulfilling prophecy is possible because we don't do what we know takes us towards our truly desired outcomes versus the one that we fear will come to pass. All right. It's wordy and lengthy and pithy, just like me. But I hope that really illustrates the point. And for this, you have the 5 of Swords. And so the message behind this is this full moon is really, it's trying to help you understand and really get to grips with your own stuff, like where you're fighting yourself, where you're battling yourself, where maybe you are actually getting in your own way in some regard. And, you know, when we can do that and we can be really clear on it and say, okay, you know what, actually, yeah, I could probably stand to do more of, you know, this, and this. When we do that and we start to really get into it, and remember as well, interestingly enough, you know, the 12th house is the house of self-sabotage, but it's also the house of martyrdom. So where is it that now, by focusing on yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going to implement the changes that I know are going to make a difference in order to transcend those self-fulfilling prophecies. With that said, my beautiful, beautiful people, thank you so much for spending so much time with me. I know it's been like an hour and 40 minutes at this point. This, you know, it really means a lot that you guys come and you spend so much time with me on these lives and you support me the way that you do. It really, really does mean a lot. It's been wonderful to have you. Cindy and Il, thank you both so much for being moderators for me and dealing with that whole situation. I really appreciate it. It's my absolute pleasure. I'm so, so grateful for all of you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I hope you have an amazing Aquarius full moon. If there are people that you think could benefit from this, or people that you feel like maybe need to hear some of the messages, please share it with them. Please don't forget to you know, chuck a thumbs up and do all of the things to help me and Radiant Reality grow and expand. It really does mean the world. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. You know, love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance itself. Have an amazing time. Thank you all so much, and I will see you again soon.